everyone. This is Jason Leonards. This is episode number 313 of Revolutionary You, proudly brought to you by Revolution Fitness and Therapy. This is episode 1 of 4 with Ruby Cherie. And if you have been following the show for a while, you may remember that Ruby was on back in episode 96. She was on again in episode 213, so literally 100 episodes ago, and that was in September of 2019. We are back. She is joining me for my next 4-part series. We always have a blast together. I just, every time I see her, I'm like, wow, she is just a little ball of energy all the time. Energy and enthusiasm. She's always so much fun. We have 4 great topics to cover with you. And so, Ruby, we were just talking about this a little bit offline. You are actually in another lockdown over in Australia. That's crazy. And I'm so sorry to hear that, but it sounds like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Just goes to show for wherever you are, the virus continues to manifest and rear its ugly head in so many different ways, depending on the corner of the globe that you're in. But how are you? Talk to me.
Hello. Well, actually, this time I'm a lot more grateful than the last lockdown because I've kind of went the hybrid route and I'm now into doing longer distance running. So my training isn't all centered around the gym. So I have been able to get out and about still. So I've actually realized since doing the endurance training, I've had even more of that bubbly energy because it's not really runner's high, but I just have so much more capacity for life because of what I built up through endurance. So I would say just very grateful for my health is how I'm feeling right now.
Well, and it's interesting that you use that choice of words, because when we were going back and forth about potential topics to discuss, that's sort of where this first conversation is going to go. And you know, I'm gonna steal your terms, almost like a health first approach to self-improvement, and rather than thinking of the body as I need to make it smaller because that's what a lot of society can teach us, and sort of almost piggybacking off of the conversation where things ended with Sohee Lee in the last 4-part series, is that essentially diet culture can almost force these ideals on us. But I want to get your take just to sort of set the foundation for this conversation. When we think about health first, I mean, my gosh, health means so many different things, and depending on where you are physically, where you are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, where do you start? Do you start with the body? Do you start with the mind? Do you start with the fork? So many different ways to take this conversation. So when you think about this, and when you think about you kind of set it for yourself, how you had to shift your type of training. And for those that don't know really what your history was coming into this, this is a pretty significant shift in training. But what would this actually look like in execution?
I could ramble on so much about this topic, so perfect way to segue into it. Actually, I came from a powerlifting background, and I first started off in bodybuilding and went into powerlifting, which had with it a massive hesitant identity shift, which I guess that is piggybacking off Sohee, where there's that whole diet culture and people trying to cling themselves to an identity. And when you cling yourself to some dogmatism or an identity, it really can be a serrated knife. It can cut you deep and painfully because you'll find it hard to detach from that. And once I detached and went into the powerlifting world, it then again was really hard to detach from that and really find my true love in what I was doing. But I realized when the first lockdown came around, I'm like, you know what? Let's just run. I used to swear my head off about 30 minutes into a run, pretty much cancelled it there. And then over time, I realized how much more capable I was at that 30 minutes run until I injured myself. So then I had to lay off again. And I guess the biggest thing I realized is that my endurance wasn't there. My capacity to run, my heart rate, my blood pressure, all of that stuff was held back. And not only that, but my body wasn't very responsive to any protocol I put upon it. And I really came to realize the importance of aerobic health, of heart rate, like your resting heart rate, your blood pressure. And my blood pressure back then, so the American standard, I'm pretty sure it says you need to be about 120/80. But that's because when they set the standards, they move in line with the sick population, not people, like, not something that's going to make you thrive, but something that's good enough to not make you sick or ill, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I would like to say the gold standard is actually 115. Like, you'd want to aim for around about the 115. But I came from 143 over 85, I think I was. And that's pretty much pushing hypertensive. And through my aerobic training, I'm now sitting at 112 over 70. And I guess where this is going is that ever since I started to take this health first approach, I started to realize how much more responsive my body is. Whereas before, when I was doing powerlifting, no matter where I would try to push my calories, like, because in powerlifting, you have to compete in like a weight class. And I always struggled, stressed, cried over trying to make this weight class. And I would like drop my food quite a lot. I pretty much was fighting a brick wall to get my weight down. And I will make a comparison to that. To cut weight for my prep for the half marathon that I just ran last Sunday, I was sitting on, for comparison, I'm sitting now at 55, 56 kilos. I was sitting at about 59 before I started this hybrid life. But when I started the actual prep for the marathon, I was sitting at 58. The goal was to get me to 56. But I somehow shot down to 55. And this goes back to a healthy body is a responsive body. So instead of having a massive like calorie cut or a massive food cut, I was sitting at 2,500 calories. I only had to cut them down to 2,350 to see such an amazing response in my body. It wasn't, it's a fight all approach to get your body there. And I guess the way to put this out there is too many people are trying to live a diet forever culture. They're always chasing a lighter body weight. They're always chasing, I want to be smaller. They're not realizing that you have to spend an extended period of time focusing on performance, focusing on health, taking yourself away from not just the diet culture, because there's too many semantics around that. It's, you want to take yourself away from focusing on chasing weight goals, chasing body goals, and focus more on what is it that my body can do? How can I make myself perform better, move better, eat more whole foods to actually get a response from my body that's going to take me closer to my goals. Like, this is why I hate the whole let's just fit your macros with whatever, because people are not realizing that you need certain nutrients to not only fuel your metabolism, but there are particular nutrients you eat that have that cascading of like the cascade effect in your body that feed onto, yes, the metabolism, but also gut health, immune health. Everything is, you cannot have one system in your body that you just look at with tunnel vision on. Everything works together. And that's why people have this whole, is it the hormones or is it the calories? No, it's both. You can't say, I had this argument with someone, not an argument, I had this discussion with someone today. My calorie deficit isn't doing anything. This is why I don't say you're in a calorie deficit or you're in a calorie surplus, because that number could be a deficit one day and the next week that deficit could be a surplus, because hormones play a part of this. Are you sleeping well? Are you stressed out? What's happening with your energy? Like, there are so many different factors that play into how your body responds to your caloric intake, because if it's stressed out, it's going to do everything it can to save energy because you're going to need to run away. So I guess that's where it comes to, you need to zoom out and look at your body in a whole. When you take yourself out of chasing calories, chasing a smaller number on the scale, and start focusing on how can I make my body healthier, and getting your body in a place where it is primed to burn fat, you will be able to actually put yourself through a fat loss phase and see the results straight away. It's not going to be, I'm slugging away really hard at this and I'm not seeing the results that I should be seeing for the work that I'm putting in. If you actually spend a lot of time around maintenance, which is your maintenance calories, which is where you should be spending a majority of the time, when you actually go through a fat loss phase, you will actually get the results that you want to see without having to fight for it, without having to push for it. But it is hard because if you're so used to seeing the number on the scale go down or chasing a number on the scale going down, it is so hard to rip yourself away from that, which is pretty much why instead of just stopping it completely, you need to shift focus. It's just like with habits. You can't stop a habit. You need to replace that habit. And I have this analogy of wires. You can have really thick cables in your brain, which are your old habits. They're never going to leave. They're there. But you need to form new habits alongside that. And you have to keep repeating that, get the charge going through that. And as the charge gets stronger and stronger, those cables get thicker and thicker. But those other cables are still there. You can revert back to them. But you are now able to shift between these habits. It's just being aware of that. So I guess that leads it up to where you want to take the convo now.
Yeah, my gosh, all the different places we could take this. So yeah, and the thing is when we look at health, and that's kind of where I've started to kind of form the question really to start the conversation was, we know that food matters. We know that training matters, and that's resistance training and cardiovascular training. We know that sleep matters. We know that your mindset matters. We know that your relationships, your family dynamics, all that stuff, it all plays into, you talked about hormones. Obviously, hormones can influence the way that we eat, the way that we sleep. And so, the thing is we as people, we like things simplified. We like the meme approach to life because the memes simplify the method, and the avenue to travel. So if we see a pyramid, like a hierarchy of importance, and health is that picture, however you want to define it, well, then we've got, in whatever order you want to place it, we've got diet, we've got training, we've got sleep, we've got all these different variables that matter. And the thing that I've found, certainly in the 12 plus years that I've had this business, is that for some people, when they come in this door, and I'll talk about fat loss, but it's not just about fat loss, but when a client comes through our doors, more often than not, they're coming here for fat loss. And so you have to talk about the diet, because the diet is, in most cases, the most efficient way to the goal. Not always the number one most effective way to the goal, because there's other things to think about. But we do have to talk about, well, are you lifting weights? Is there progressive overload? Are you doing any type of cardiovascular activity? This could simply be going for a walk because you are glued to a desk all day long and you don't stand and your body needs some movement. It's actually craving movement. But, the other part of this too, kind of coming back to something that you said, just so it doesn't get misinterpreted, not everyone can start with training for a half marathon. For some people, I got to get you out of your seat. And so, like, depending on that person who I'm talking to, when they say, well, I work a desk job, I'm on Zoom calls all day long, and the best I can do is I can stand up and walk around a little bit, but at best I'm getting 2,000 steps a day. Okay, well let's change that. I don't need you to do a couch to 5K, but can I get you to go take your dog for a walk? Can I get you just to hop on an elliptical for just 5 to 10 minutes just to see if you can get it in? And then starting to build off of that. Also, with just the kind suggestion that I just want you to pay attention to one little thing for me. There's a chance that when we increase the activity, that your hunger is actually going to go up. So you're going to have to watch the fact that as hunger goes up, you may be tempted to reward yourself, that extra activity, with just a little bit more food, because we have these really sneaky things called trackers, whether you wear them on your wrist or whether you plug it all into MyFitnessPal or whatever your food tracking app is of choice, that conveniently tells you, well, you did, a half hour of elliptical today, We believe that that's 150 calories that you burned. Guess what? You get to throw that back into the diet. Wait just a second. So I like what you said about, but and it's important to kind of bring this back up. I like what you said about maintenance, that you do want to spend a significant amount of time there, because chances are, well, we know this. If you're coming into the conversation for fat loss and you need the number on the scale to move down, you probably don't know what maintenance feels like. And let's get you there first. Let's see what maintenance actually looks and feels like, and then see if we can increase some movement too, thereby just trying to increase caloric burn. And then when it's appropriate, downshift the intake a little bit when you feel like you're mentally ready for it. And I feel like I've been having this conversation a lot more with my clients lately, like, and I have to actually fall on my own sword too. Like, I remember sitting in these consultations with clients and going, okay, so maintenance is here, X, and we can play anywhere from say 10 to 20% deficit to start to like create fat loss. Plus you've got strength training, plus you've got cardiovascular activity. And I have to actually like backpedal a little bit and go, maybe that wasn't the best approach. Maybe we need to start at maintenance, and we need to just see what happens when you increase your activity. And I've even started to say to some of my clients, hey, listen, and I'm just going to use a very arbitrary number here. If maintenance is 2,000 calories, why don't you just see what 1,900 feels like? You know, before you do something wacky like go from 2,000 to 1,200 just because you can. Because you're probably going to really hate life, and you're probably not going to think very highly of me. So I do want to sort of like come back to all this, because again, it's not, when we talk about health, my gosh, it's such a nuanced term, and then we have to start to look into the things like accepting the body as it is, regardless of what that shape and that size is, that you can be healthy at X weight, and that's okay, but you can still want self-improvement. So I'll let you take it away on that one.
I actually want to touch on that before I expand on that one. And you touch on health being so expansive, and it can be really tough, which is why I'm happy he went before me. It can be really tough to get people to see that, okay, you may feel healthy at any size, but what health are you talking about? You may feel emotionally healthy, you may feel environmentally healthy, but I guess this is where education really comes in, because there is nothing healthy about excessive body fat levels as well. And one plus about having having high body fat levels to start with is, we can actually start you off with a more aggressive fat loss phase, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. You can, but should you?
Right.
That's something I actually learned from Lauren Bannock. He says it all the time. Yeah, you can do whatever the hell you want, but should you is the question.
Right.
And you can smash yourself with the deficit, but should you? Are you ready for it? Like, it's hard when you have that conversation with the client to say, I think we're better off just starting at maintenance. And especially women, they're so used to being go, go, go all the time. They're so used to, like, they would say, I'm not afraid of the hard work. Of course you're not afraid of the hard work. That's why you're in the bloody position you're in right now, because you put yourself last, because all you do is work, work, work. You're not slowing down. And if you're not going to slow down, your body is built for survival. If your body doesn't realize that it's safe, it is not going to ever let go of that fat. And that's where that whole deficit conversation comes in as well, because, okay, we could say that we're going to put you in a 20% deficit, but is that really a deficit? Is your body really going to let go of the fat? Because if it feels like it's threatened, it ain't letting go of the fat. Because if you go back to the primal instinct of our brain, it's, we are either going to fight or flight, or there's the freeze phenomenon. But if you're in a place where your body is just like, okay, we're not in a safe position right now, we need to actually hoard this fat, then your body's gonna shut down systems. It's gonna do everything it can to extract as much energy from what you are giving it that it can, that deficit isn't really a deficit anymore. Okay, your energy input appears to be exactly what it was before, but your body is extracting more energy from that than it should. Like, if you think about the gut lining, it has like little microvilli, like little teeth, and they separate and they come together, they will actually separate a lot more to get more nutrients absorbed into the body, so it actually extracts more energy. Your body becomes more efficient at what it does. So that deficit wouldn't be a deficit anymore, which is what I was talking about before, where if you want to spend more time at maintenance, your body feels safe, your body's starting to build up on itself, and your systems are actually realizing, hey, we can actually lose some fat now. So when you are prepared for a fat loss phase, you go into it. But the more that you stay in that, the more that your body's going to adapt to it. Yeah, okay, we can cut through more now because we got the result that we want. We cut through more now. Your body adapts to a lower range now. You lose more fat. But the longer that you go down there, it's just like you get to a place where it's like, okay, you spent all this time to get to where you are now. Where else is there to go? Do you want to keep cutting? Or do you want to bring your body back to maintenance, which is, like I said, where you should be spending most of the time so you can focus on your health? I want to start calling it more of a, let's focus on a health phase. Like, it's a health restoration phase. Why would we want to call it a maintenance phase when all these, like, different things have different stigmas against it? I'm so against calling things bulking. I never use the word bulking, and I hate it when people do. I usually call it a performance phase or a building phase. Let's build some muscle mass now. Let's build some strength now. Why would we want to call it a bulking phase when there's no, like, let's go back to bro bodybuilding days where everything's either a bulk or a cut. When if you think about that, it's like yo-yo dieting. Like, right. Okay, we're going to bulk, we're going to cut. But think about Jenny Moo, who comes into your studio and is like, I need to lose weight. Is she someone that wants to be going through bulk and cutting phases? Like, is that life? Like, no. And people don't realize that these terms and all this jargon is for the bros, which is pretty much what took up most of the industry when it came. And it's meant to be a health and fitness industry, not a supplements and dieting regimes industry, which is what it's pretty much turned to.
Right.
Health and fitness is about fitness to enhance your health and life. And the diet side of it is nutrition to fuel your soul, to fuel your life, to fuel your body, to make it live longer, to fight disease. The more immune suppressed you are, for example, the easier it is for you to contract COVID. The easier it is for you to contract flus, colds, anything. Like, touch wood, touch wood, touch wood. I don't even get sick in winter anymore because I look after my health. It's so much harder for someone to get sick when their body is in a really good state. Like, I know that I will get sick when I'm overtraining getting ready for a comp. Like, that is when your body is in stress, because my body then is under nutritioned because I'm doing more training, putting more demand onto my body than what I'm actually providing for recovery and rest, which go back to the person that's always go, go, go. That's pretty much the state they're living in 24/7, not just for a comp. And then you wonder why they end up with all these different complications going on and they can't lose fat, and they're wondering why they're hardly eating or they just had a binge. Like, all that stuff is connected. And this is why a health first approach is exactly what people would need to start seeing that this health and fitness is about. Like, it's health. It's not diet regimes, supplements, and bro building old stigma that really needs to die. Because a general person who has a full-time job, who's a mum, doesn't need to go through bulk and cutting diets. They need to find a way that they can sustain for life that has them living a leaner life, which, if you think about all the components, I don't know whether you saw that on my Instagram the other day, but I made a magic potion, and I actually went around into some of my clients. There were only 3 people I asked that weren't clients, but they're pretty much on the same page. I'm like, if you were to make a magic pill that will get you lean for life, have you losing fat but building muscle, what would be in this pill? It can be anything, not just food. And they pretty much all said the same thing. Sleep. What would you know? Sleep is one of them. Stress management was one of them.
Right.
I only asked 2 guys, and they're the only ones that mentioned training intensity and training technique. None of the girls mentioned training, which was really interesting of them, but they mentioned proper nutrition One of them mentioned flexible nutrition, which is another thing that's really important as well, because if you want to succeed at a diet for life, yes, meal plans are amazing. I love them and I follow them myself. But guess what? I write them myself too, for myself, because you need to also know your macros. You need to know nutrient composition of food to be able to formulate or change and adapt a meal plan to suit your needs whenever you need to. Like, I give out meal plans to my clients, but I also give them macros if they want it. If they want to change up their foods, they're educated in ways that they can swap certain ingredients, because if you're feeling restricted to a plan, you're going to want to rebel against it, or you're going to get sick of it. You're going to want to stray away, or you'll start having cravings. So having a flexible approach to either macros or a meal plan, there is nothing wrong with the meal plan. And that is what people need to stop fighting against, because to me, I don't have to worry about thinking about what am I going to have for today? What am I going to have for tomorrow? People have busy lives and they get busier and busier as years go. They don't have time to try and figure out a plan that is going to suit them for a certain day to keep them on track. And then they have to think about the family, think about this. Like, have a set plan. Plan it yourself. Work in a plan that actually works for you. And if you have to cook dinner for the family, make dinner flexible. Just know how to incorporate different foods into that dinner that suit your plans. Don't include oils and butters because they don't satisfy you and they're so caloric dense. Find oil-free ways to cook. I call oil a bulking food, and bulking in quotation marks, because it doesn't really have any nutrients. It just has fat. If you need to add fat to your diet, you can probably get it from alternate sources that will actually satisfy you. Because most days, people need foods that satisfy them so they don't go craving things. If you want omega-3s, why bother with putting like actual flaxseed oil or whatever oil when you can actually eat something that satisfies you and fills you up? Like, the only time you really need to be drinking your calories or having fast calories is if you're having trouble getting your calories in. So if you're thinking about a health first approach, the more whole food you can get into your diet, the more chewing you can do, the better it is going to be for your body in the long term, because it's going to be sustainable. And I guess that was one of my pillars of my potion, like my own one, is more whole foods, because it's going to fill you up. It's going to keep you satisfied. It's what, okay, you might, like I said before, yeah, you can eat that donut, but should you? Because if you have that donut, what is it that you're going to sacrifice? Because every yes you say is a no to something else. Saying yes to that donut is saying no to satiation, because there's no way a donut's going to make you feel satisfied. If anything, it's going to make you want another one. And you're probably going to want to be eating within another half an hour after that, because that won't keep you full for long. And you're probably going to have more sweet cravings after. So yeah, you can eat a donut. Yeah, you can eat cheesecake too. But what are you sacrificing for that? And if you want to stay on track with your goals, you're going to have to make some modifications to the rest of your day to keep you within that little maintenance point. Or if you want to take a more flexible approach, you can balance that over a couple of days or whatever. But you don't want to be having these all-out binge fests on one day, or overeating one day to the point where you have to significantly take your calories out of other days, because then what's your performance going to be like that? And I don't just mean in the gym, I mean showing up to life. And this is a lot of what's missed from like society. It's not just performance in a gym, because you can smash it out in the gym, but what are you doing the other days? And that's where the whole activity tracker that you mentioned comes into play as well, because it's like, yeah, I burnt 700 calories in that workout. I'm smashed. I'm going to lie on the couch all day. So you would usually burn, like, let's just put out rough numbers that are easy to calculate. You would usually burn about 1,000 calories in a normal day away from training. In your training, you'd probably burn, let's just say, 500 to 700. If you're going to minus that, but you smash yourself even more to the point where instead of 1,000 calories you burn during the day, you burn 800 now. Are you in a surplus? Are you in a deficit? What really are you in?
Right.
Like, you need to take into the fact that your training is 30 minutes to 2 hours of your day, depending what type of training you do. you need to actually have energy to perform at life. So think about a health first approach, not only health for your body, but show up to life. The more that you put into yourself, the more that you can put out to those that you love, the more that you can put into the work that you do, the more that you can actually thrive and not just survive. And that's when you start to realize, okay, I don't need to survive at 1500 calories, 1200 calories. I'm surviving at so much more. And then I guess I want to go back to the point that you mentioned about the marathon thing. So yeah, okay, cool. You can't run a half marathon off the bat. There was that, I'm pretty sure you're aware of it as well, but there was this psychological study where it's just like, okay, leave your shoes at the door, put them on, just walk on the spot for a bit, take them off, pat yourself on the back for it, like talk yourself up, you just put the shoes on. That task was hard for you to do before. The next day, do the same thing, but walk to the mailbox. And then the next day after that, walk around the block. And who knows, you might keep going. Like, start with where you are at and what you're willing to do. But realize that the more activity that you put into your day, the better your body is going to respond. A healthy body is a responsive body. The more that you move your body, the more that it's going to respond with you to make it lose the fat, to make it realize, hey, my body is actually doing what it's supposed to do. Like, we're primates. We're meant to be moving. We are, like, movement is medicine. As soon as our body starts to move, it starts to, like, there's the lymphatic system, there's a muscle system, there's the fascia. Like, everything in our body is designed for movement. As soon as we move, even stretching has the ability to get your body to actually contract, like the muscles contract. When your muscles contract, there's this little enzyme called GLUT4. It's something that pretty much is your metabolism's best friend, your carb metabolism's best friend. As soon as you eat food, you're going to need to either use it or store it. But when you move your body becomes more nutrient sensitive. So when you move it, this GLUT4 transporter goes to the border of the muscles, and it allows the carbs to go in to actually start, depending on how much movement you're doing, it will start to, assimilate the nutrients that you're putting in. So the more that you incorporate some movement into your life, the less insulin resistant you're going to become. And you'll start to feel the benefits of it. And as soon as you start to feel the benefits of it, you're going to start to want to do it more. And you need to start patting yourself on the back more. Not enough people reward the good shit that they're doing. And as soon as you start to reward the good shit that you're doing, you're going to do it more. We're too busy putting our hand up, complaining when we're struggling. But when we're winning, chip off the shoulder. Let's just move on. No, like, celebrate it, because you will do it more. And then you will start to feel, okay, I'm feeling energetic today. I've never felt this energy before. And when we're so focused on that scale going down, on our clothes looking this way, on the mirror looking that way, I can't get rid of this saggy butt. Like, I'm just so sick of the cellulite. Like, the more that you focus on that shit, that's all good. That's going to be taking up your energy.
Right.
What you focus on is where your energy goes. Where your energy goes is where your focus goes. It's that one-in-one thing. As soon as you start to disconnect that is when you can start to move forward. The more that you focus on what you hate about yourself, the more you're going to see it. Say to avoid looking at yellow cars, and all of a sudden you're going to be seeing yellow everywhere because someone just said the word yellow. Like, I could be starting to talk about shoes, and then all of a sudden you become conscious of what your feet are doing, whereas before you weren't. And it's the same thing. Like, psychology works in amazing ways. Start to focus on how you feel when you wake up in the morning, how you feel when you're playing with the kids, how you feel when you're talking to other people. Are you more confident? How you feel when you're going about tasks at work. Are you more assertive in those tasks? Are you more assertive with your workmates? How about in the gym? How about just doing daily things around the house? Are you getting up more? Like, there are so many different aspects of our life that are totally swiped aside because we've become so obsessed with this diet culture, with this idea of just becoming a smaller version of ourselves without realizing it's health for a reason. We want to add to our lives. And people are forgetting that because they're too focused on what they want right now. Yeah, I'm sick of how I look right now. It's so emotional. Everyone attaches emotion to it, but they're not realizing that the more that you put into yourself for the future, the bigger the investment, because you want to live a quality life. And as soon as you stop focusing so much on yourself and being so self-absorbed and actually start to realize everyone else around you, you'll start to see, I realized this the other day too, there are so many people walking around the shopping center with like the Hunchback of Notre Dame kind of necks. Like they're walking like this, they're frail. It's like you don't want that for yourself. You want to actually be in a place where you're more functional, where you're making the most of life at every age. And it starts now, because when you're that age, you're going to be wishing that you'd done that sooner.
Yeah, my gosh, I feel like there's still so much to cover, but I want to start. I want to maybe sort of pull this to something of a close because I know we're going to have three more conversations to sort of build on this. But let me see if I can sort of put a bow on this, and let you add any final thoughts too. You know, coming back to what you said before about taking somebody where they are. Right now maybe all you can do is just put those athletic shoes on and just step outside the door and then come back in and take them off. And good on you, because that's more than what you did yesterday. Depending on who you are that's listening right now, based on everything that you have being thrown at you, all that 2021 is offering you at this point in time. Maybe the only thing that you can focus on right now is getting stronger. So when you go to the gym, push for the extra rep, push for the extra set, see how it feels, reassess. If you've got that part handled and you feel like the body's getting stronger, go for a walk. Try a little bit longer walk. Try a little bit faster walk. Try a little bit higher walk if you're on a treadmill, or if you go for a hike. Try to cover a little bit of altitude if you can. Doesn't necessarily have to be a run, but if you're capable of running, go for the run and then reassess. How do you feel? When you're ready, emotionally, mentally, then maybe you try to tackle the food and you go, okay, is this food that gets me closer to or further from my goal? Are there any trigger foods in my food environment? Do I need to be a little bit more strategic grocery shopper? Look at those things. And then if you do, quote unquote, have the donut, how do you feel? Did you feel good? Did it satisfy that need that you have? Are you ready to kind of get back to plan? Cool. Are you not ready to get back to plan? Why is that? Do we need to come back to focusing on getting stronger? Because right now mentally, we can't divorce ourselves from the donut or the cravings, and so we'll kind of come back to it. But the one thing that I want to say too, for those that are capable of it, and I have to give a shout out to one of my online clients, Leanne, right now. Leanne just does these. She sends me a weekly journal that is absolutely phenomenal. Just the amount of detail that's in it, everything from like how her training runs are going to the macros that she's eating. And I read this stuff and I was like, my God, this is incredible. Because there's so much insight into it. Like, this is how my body felt. This is how I'm sleeping. This is what work is doing. And like, she can go back and revisit that and go, wow, so this is how you respond when life is stressful. This is how you respond when you're injured. This is how you respond when everything is on point. It is brilliant. And the thing is that health, it's not a simple answer, and it means one thing to Ruby, and it means something else to Jason, and it's going to mean something else to my online client Leanne. But it's all essentially, we're just trying to get better. Like, we're just trying to get through this life feeling better, and it's not directly related to a number on the scale. But Ruby, is there anything that you want to add to that as we pull this episode to something of a close?
It's all of that and more, because it's once you focus on all that other stuff that you'll start to see the external results. But this time it's with real meaning. It's not like a shell. And I actually came to the analogy just then. If you're just focusing on the number, it's just like a shell. And there's no meaning to a shell. Like, you need to give it a soul. And that's just like the human body in itself. You're just looking at the body, but bodies have souls, and that soul needs life. And yes, health has many dimensions, but what is life if it has no meaning? And you give life that meaning by being present in what you do every day. But when you become so hyper-focused on just chasing a number and holding these insane expectations for yourself based on what you see on social media, which is probably years in the making, and start to just bring it back to yourself and what you can do in the moment, which may just be dealing with what you have. Like, we're in this lockdown right now. I can't do as much as I used to do. Okay, so what can I do? And I am in awe at your client for writing all that down. And I think we can all benefit from doing that, because we can't be aware of where we are in this space and time if we aren't processing our own thoughts and feelings. And we don't really do that in our own heads. Our heads are irrational at the best of times. When it's on paper, you start to process your thoughts a lot more. Use a real paper with a real pen and write down your real thoughts, because you are a human. You are not a robot. You are not pixels on a screen. And there is more to you than just a shell. So I guess that's probably the best place to leave it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that leaves the door open for the next conversation. So Ruby, thank you again for taking the time. Looking forward to the next 3 episodes with you to continue this 4-part series. But I will put your information in the show notes, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much for having me on again.
My pleasure. For those of you listening, hope you have an opportunity to download, subscribe, share with your friends. If you have an extra moment, please leave us an iTunes review. We will catch you next time.